Happy Sunday. Welcome to the channel, Getting in the Spirit, where we want to get into the consciousness, the idea of Spirit of God, of oneness. In this current atmosphere in our country, we're deciding for or against, moving forward, making great. And in these ideas, all these ideas are designed to use the laws of manifesting, the laws of creation, affirmation. These things are all used to control us. Because I believe as consciousness, as individualized expressions of awareness of that which God is, we can be manipulated. Because you see, when awareness is made aware of something, it becomes it, it embodies it. And as souls, that's what we are. We are aspects, I believe, we're aspects of awareness. And as an aspect of awareness, if you remember, you may have read or heard, but when we were children, from the ages of 1 until 7, I believe, Bruce Lipton, he is a epigeneticist, and I believe created this actual science. But he said that children from those ages are basically in a trance. They are being hypnotized. If you think about the Matrix, that which they need to know is literally being downloaded. And our downloading system is a little bit different. There was a great movie called Limitless. They made it into a TV series. I don't know if you saw it. It was super fascinating. The idea, the premise was they could take this pill that would allow a human being to use, quote unquote, 100% of his mind. So his superpower was whenever he would go into a situation, he would, in trying to figure out a murder or a crime, the information would be given to him. You know, there are people in this field that have traveled outside of their bodies, have gone and taken part of or witnessed the halls of Amenti or the Akashic records. And these records basically hold data of eternity, like throughout eternity. Every life form that's ever existed is existing. Everything that there is to know is known in this space, in the halls of Amenti or the Akashic records. And this knowing is available to all of us. And so in looking at the news and like what's going on, like I said, I came across this article, a reel rather. It's so funny we call news articles reels now. But I came across this reel, and there was these two black women in their 90s, 80s, 90s, it could be. And they were talking about poll fees. And in the 60s, as a method of voter suppression, Black people were made to pay poll fees in the South to discourage them from voting. The one lady said, I only made $2 a week, and here I had to pay $60 to vote. And so some of them had to decide between feeding their family and voting. And A lot of them still voted, but it's just the idea of having this choice. And I had posted to my page about it, and I was drinking this amazing juice. If you can see it, Vara juice. It's so good. It's a mango cold pressed juice. But they were talking about like what was taking place in their time, and and it just brought me back to this question of how did we get here? We understand why are we here, but how do we get here? How do we get to the place where a group of people make up rules to give to another group that they think is lesser than, and impose these laws, and the country just goes along with it? And I'm so glad that there is an evolution of consciousness. And it's funny because this evolution of consciousness also takes place in the Bible. Because in the beginning, God, had Adam, and then he imposed these rules. You have to hear the other videos to understand like how I'm talking about it now. But he imposed these rules upon his creation. There's this beautiful, amazing garden and everything in it, and the animals, and he's presenting the animals to Adam to name, and he's literally creating his space as he sees fit. And he says, well, you can do whatever you want, just don't do this. Don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And people, they present, well, the argument, I will say, because as a new creature on this planet, as a child, I would have no idea as to what someone was talking about. But if someone gives me the book to read and I go, well, he's God, and I love being able to do this. He's God. Why would he put a tree in there to test his love? Like, he's God. How is he God in one moment, all-knowing, omniscient, omnipotent, and he creates a being and then tests to see whether the being loves him? Like, why? And so then people go, well, the story was given to us that it was to create, free choice. God wanted to be sure that he loved him. And it's like, we just slip into this personification so easily now, and so tritefully, that, it's just second nature. Well, this is why it was done. I had a long conversation with my brother last night about it. He's reading the Hermetica or the Kabbalah, one of the two. And he was talking to me about, he listened to one of my videos, and he was talking to me about if we were all free and there was no government, there would be chaos. People would kill each other. Men would rape women, and so on and so forth. And I go, but why? Like, I don't wake up and want to rape somebody. And he says, well, there's brain defects and so and so and so and so. And, some people can't imagine, have the inability to imagine. Some people have the inability to hear themselves think, like hear your voice in their head. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, I did not know that. And so he was, giving me his ideas. And so I began to share from my perspective and absorbing completely like what my brother said. And in my mind, I was trying to build onto what he was expressing. In that there's limitless, there's, the possibility or the potentiality for chaos, the potentiality for whatever. That's our nature. That's the nature that we were told, remember. So And I said, well, if you take away all those parameters, all of those expectations, like you are a pure, new, and loving soul. Usually when those things happen, with children, think about Jeffrey Dahmer or, some other mass murderer, there was trauma that occurred, to them, as children. But I didn't really want to get off into it too much, but, there are extenuating circumstances. But the idea the premise that I was coming from was we were created in this peace, in serenity, in love. And through the evolution of God was learning. Consciousness was learning. He learned that it was better to just have a people that shared his nature, because we can share his nature and be different, have likes and dislikes, have not dislikes, but preferences, that we can have and experience preference. And that's a difference than blind obedience. Because my brother had mentioned, we would be like zombies. And I was like, that's not so. I said, God was having conversations with Adam. When before Adam sinned, God would come to talk to Adam. It's like God wanted companionship. God was coming to talk to him. And so there is this relationship that we don't even talk about. That's not even a part of the Bible. We are so focused on the death, burial, and resurrection that we don't talk about Adam's relationship with God, Adam and Eve's relationship with God, where God talked to them, had conversation. Can you imagine sitting back and just conversating with God? And if you think about it, why am I here is answered. What am I here for was answered. Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Freedom. Do whatever you want to do. Have fun, build, create, live, and, build a family, learn and grow. And imagine a world without death, without the opposite, where it's only good. And people, I'm hearing, well, I would get bored. How would you get bored? You could literally learn about eternity. You can express, you can be with people, you can have partners and live life. It's the same thing now, but you don't have to struggle. If you want, to live on an island, you would go and live on the island. There's no money. It's just, what is your dream? What would you like to do? What would you like to be? What would you like to be, do, and have? That is our nature. That's why, we're running away from our 9-to-5 jobs. That's why we're looking for places where we can work and things that we can do to compensate us to be able to do those things, because we created this self-imposed prison to where we have to pay for these things. So our essence, however, is one of difference. There is no need for money. I think about it and it is. I speak it, I decree it, and it is. And money is the substitute for being able to do that. We think about it, why would Adam and Eve need money? Why would God's children need money? Why would beings who can think things into being, literally their thoughts become things, why would you need money? Except for, in going along with the story, Adam surrendered his authority in the earth, his ability to do all these things, by listening to giving his awareness to another being, a being that was the opposite, that said, well, that was part of the curse too, that he would, because of his separation from God, his oppositeness, like imagine that before the curse, he didn't have to work. Like he worked, but yeah, he worked. He, according to the Bible, he worked. He tended the garden. He tended the garden. Basically, that was his work. He was tending the garden, and he could just go and get the fruit, herbs, whatever. They could just go and eat, and then thorns were placed in the garden, and so now there was this idea of, oh, work with me, something is happening. There was this idea of impediments or roadblocks. If you think about it, go, oh, I want to manifest $1 million. Like, what are your impediments? What are your roadblocks that have been placed into the garden because you feel like you're separate from God? You feel like you're separate from just thinking it and it becoming, like it being so, you manifesting it. Like, that's deep. And so these roadblocks were placed in the garden because of their disobedience. And the woman before, she was pregnant, she didn't have a child. Magically, it just no pain, you just have the baby. And because of her listening to an outside source, now she experiences pain. And it's funny because there was when I was in school, there was a sociologist who said that women who experience pain during their cycles experience it because their mothers told them that they would experience pain. And there was like a real study that was done, like you can look it up. But there was a study that was done, and they found that women whose mother told them that they would experience pain during their cycles experience pain, who were told they would have pain during childbirth had pain during childbirth. And so it was, wow, like, was that the curse? That the curse is a thought, it's an idea that the ground is cursed and that you will have to work from the sweat of your brow, that you have to work hard from the sweat of your brow, that you're going to, have pain with children. And however, there is a remedy, that your seed will bruise or crush the head of the serpent. And this serpent, the id, the ego, that which we are not, consciousness, or that which is not consciousness, came to be. And there was this trichotomy, of logic, emotion, and the opposite. And going back to the point I was saying about voting, how do we get to this place is because lawmakers, we are susceptible to that thinking. We're susceptible to these thoughts, to these ideas. They don't have to be, but we're susceptible to them. And so that's why we have opposing protests that say that, no, this is not right. And there was a scripture that just popped in my head. I love downloads. It says, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it, the violent apprehend it, the passionate take it by force, the passionate apprehend it by force. And so it's like, it's this push against that, or pushing forward, that is how we change our thinking. You know, when you're learning a new habit, it takes 21 days for the neural pathways to rearrange themselves to where that is simply the way you are. And it's how we are created. The scripture talks about, that I was reading from, says that, for if thou will confess the lordship of Jesus, and shall believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou will be saved. For with the heart, this was the point, for with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. And so it's this combination of believing with our heart and professing with our mouths. It's expressing our authenticity that makes it real. It's like we create our realities by what we think and by what we say. And in relation to those women voting in the 60s and today, it just struck something, you know, it just struck about how we have to speak up for what we believe in. Our ideas are different from the world. Our ideas are different from, not necessarily the world, are different from what's the societal norm. And I didn't even think that. I think that there are a lot of people who are in the wings, in the shadows, that feel and believe this way, but don't realize that our thinking is what stops us. When you, in one point, say you're affirming in the morning that I feel good, I feel great, I feel wonderful, then you turn on the news, oh, that makes me sick. I hate people who do this. All those things, like, you have to realize that you are awareness, that you are a spiritual being, you are an idea, and we attract to us that which we're focused on, that which whatever we're thinking about, we are attracting the cooperative components to us. We are attracted to cooperative components with us. You ever notice that when you're kind of in a vein or in a mood, and you attract people who both contribute to it and give you things to be, more angry about. And that's just simply how it works, from the Bible to our reality. That's how the world works. And there are those who use it to manipulate us, to control us. They want to control our educational system. The Rockefellers, J.D. Rockefeller said that, he wanted, the schools were created to create workers. The school system is designed to create workers, not thinkers. And so thinking this way that I'm sharing, talking about the things that I'm talking about is, against his idea of education. And he also controls the medical community. And, if you disagree with the Hippocratic Oath, then you can't practice medicine. And it's like, you know, there's this whole code of laws, of quote unquote things that we are told will keep us, you know, in line and in order, as if, you know, like you put a bunch of kindergartners in a room, they play. Like, the only ones who have a hard time playing are the ones that, you know, God forbid, have been abused in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And there may be, you know, some natural dysfunction, you know, cognitive or something like that, but that's different. I'm just talking about the quote unquote, so I don't want to get banned, what we were told was normal, or acting normal, behaving normally. And yeah, so I just wanted to share that today about we are free and limitless beings, and that's the secret to a happy life, is exploring that potentiality, exploring this potential of creating with our thoughts, of creating the life that we want, exactly how we want it. Like, who would have thought that people could get on YouTube and share their ideas, share their lives, and be paid for it because people want to watch? Like, think of your circle of friends and, you know, all the people that you know through conversation, and you could have that conversation, those same conversations, that same group now globally, and you get paid for it, you'd be compensated for it. So in this paradigm, you know, so I believe that, well, that is a way. You're creating a way to do that which you're saying you're doing, to create with your thoughts. Your thoughts are becoming things. But if you guys want to add anything that I can respond to, feedback, I love that you have been responding. I thank you for that. Thank you for your comments. Thank you to the new subscribers. I have a few more new subscribers. I think I'm up to like 34. So I want to say blessings to each and every one of you. I see God's highest and best for you and your families. I see each and every one of you healthy, healed, and whole, prosperous, living in peace. And so it is. Please, if you enjoyed the content, click me a like and share with someone, so we can build up our subscription, build up our family, and take this thing to the next level. All right, I will see you later. I think I want to talk about something a little bit later on, but that had to do with I think it was politics. Maybe not. I don't know. Depends on how the spirit leads. All right. You have a blessed Sunday. Bye-bye.